Hello. Yeah. Hi. Hi, everyone. So sorry for the delay. Thank you for joining us. And today we will be discussing the one of the best, like hotly discussed topic, which is segmentation. So segmentation has its merit, but there is an like a growing concern about like how the segmentation works and how we can use the segmentation in our automations or in our campaigns. So we'll start from there. So it's like the number one thing in the webinar in this will cover like the segmentation, the targeting, and the personalization. So these are the three things we will be covering. Now once we start in this, so first we need to understand that what is we mean by segmentation and targeting, so and personalization. So segmentation is the process like where we segment the audiences based on their behavior. Second is the targeting. Targeting is like once we have the specific segment, then how we are like able to like target them. And personalization is what the customer perceive in the terms of like what is the personalization, and it's basically like the tailored communication for the like a better experience for the customer. So personalization is the experience side of thing. Now coming to the this like the what's the number one problem with segmentation. There are just too many of them. Like there is a lot of confusion, and many of our clients also ask that what kind of segmentation we should use and how many campaigns we should do per segments and all those things. And if you go by anything on the net, or if you research anything, you will get confused because there are so many, literally so many hundreds of automations and hundred of segments. And segments are, you can go with this model where there is like demographic, geographic, and this thing. There is like in the terms of psychological, in the terms of behavioral, in the terms of geographical. Now you can also go through this model. This is like select like recommended by Klaviyo, so you can use this as a core marketing audience, then win back, then caution. But still this is like close to like 11 automations are 11 segments are there. And then there is like RFM model, which is in itself have 10. And like ideally it has like 64 or 125 segments. But typically, even if you collate to bring this level, this is also quite too much for small companies, and like for most of the companies, even 7-figure 8-figure companies. So here's the truth, like working on more than 5-6 automations is not feasible unless you are Amazon. So understanding the goal of your segment analysis, so before we dive into the segmentation strategies, the first approach is to what's the goal of the segment and why we are doing the whole segmentation process. So first is the research side of things. Do you want to do the research? So if you get into the research side of things, then the zero party data, then the demographic side of things, then the psychological side of things, then the behavioral targeting, everything comes into the picture. But and you can go deep and you can like where the data takes you, but this is from research perspective. But from a campaign or from a marketing perspective, what we all want is conversions, more like a better experience for the customer, but also end of the day have more conversions and like higher conversion rates for the our marketing efforts. So for that, it comes down to that six segments. Like even if you can bifurcate your audience into six segments, that will do the most of the work. So you don't need to worry about creating 100 segments and then figure it out, or multiple variations. You can just start with like six segments and everything will start come to it will, you can start executing on that. So segmentation strategy, just diving into the segmentation is part of our bigger framework, which is the LTV maximization blueprint, which includes like product value maximization, customer value maximization, communication, and optimization. So this falls under like communication maximization, where we are trying to channelize and we are trying to create the segments for the communication. So we'll just deep dive into the smart segmentation blueprint. So smart segmentation, we typically recommend like six segments, and six segments also are actionable, but these are somehow like even four, only four are actionable. Like for two of them, which is like a missing, which is like a part of the list cleaning, which is highly advised. And then there is the unengaged. So unengaged is also most of the brands or like marketers, what they do is like they target this 500 like a 90-day audience, and out of 90-day audience, if the 90-day audience is not there or if someone is not opening, they will stop sending them. But they don't clean the list. They will keep the user on the list and this thing, and this leads to like lot of redundancy. So idea is to not send exclusively to 90-day openers, but to stop sending to unengaged. So there is a difference between who you target and who you exclude. So what we are recommending is more on the exclusion side of things, that if they are unengaged, so you just take them out or you just remove them from, or even if you have to, you can just, we will discover come in the next slide. But the idea is not to go deep into that. Next is like convert or remove. So there is a like a non-buyer. So non-buyers in the biggest segments, which in every database what we have encountered is like non-buyers. So these are like typically 50% of the users are non-buyers, and then there will always be like one-time buyers, then repeat, and then lapsed buyers. So repeat one-time buyers will be like whosoever bought only once. So the idea is how we approach this, that you remove the missing, be it one-time buyer, be it repeat buyer, be it lapsed buyer, you remove your missing audience. Then once you remove your missing, then you exclude your unengaged audience. So you exclude unengaged to the most of the campaigns or most of the automations. You try to exclude your unengaged audience, and then you focus on these four segments. So end of the day, like these four segments are workable, and we just play with these four segments. And for most of the brands, like we work with 7-figure, 8-figure brands, if you work with like these four segments, I think it's more than good enough. And we have seen like multiple success with these segments, instead of going deep into like labs or recently labs or those kind of like champion versus this like loyal customers. So this is what we have seen work best, and these are very simple for four segments plus two as an overall six segment strategy. And first let's dive into the non-buyer, because once you exclude the unengaged and like remove the missing audience, then the definition like non-buyers is someone who has not placed an order ever. So these are the audiences which sign up, maybe they signed up like 6 months ago, maybe they signed up like 2 years ago, and once they sign up, you just they keep like they are on the list. So the idea is to either convert them or remove them. So you keep very high like you keep on targeting them aggressively, and it's basically starts with the like there is a long welcome flow, which is you instead, even if after the welcome flow, because typically welcome flow lasts like 3 to 4 days or like 1 week. So that idea is to target them after 30 days, after 90 days, and you run a long welcome flow sequence. Then next is sunset flow. So sunset automation is also about this, like if you are not able to see the result, or if they are not buying again, then you try to close them on the list. Next is dedicated campaign. So how we define this strategy, like because dedicated versus variation. So depending on the resources, you can send dedicated campaign to this segment, but for most of the brands, not most, but like if your base is like less than 100K, so if you have less than 100K subscriber, then maybe non-buyers will be like 20, 30K, 50K kind of subscribers. So for 50K, there can be a possibility of a dedicated campaign. But for if the database is less than like 10K, 15K, then dedicated might not makes sense. So what we recommend is like set it up them as a variation, and we try to set them up as a variation of the campaign. So the idea is start with dedicated. Dedicated is typically for non-buyers is always the best seller. So you put your best foot forward, and you try to target them with the best products available on the website. Second is low ticket items, which is your low ticket size, or like which is also the idea is to get them early, get them on the low ticket, so will be more interested to buy that product, try them out, try you out, and this like from a trial perspective. So the idea is to offer either bestsellers or low ticket. Then there is always like free shipping or giveaway. So if you have any offer or anything, then we can use that kind of campaigns. Next is like variations. So in variations, what we play is that we create a regular campaign, like supposedly there is a sale or there is a new arrival which is going on all the audiences. So what we create is a variation. In variation, we create a variation of the same email, but we include the welcome offer in that, or we include a block with the deal on the bestseller. So these are set up mostly as a A/B test, not as a A/B test, but they are mostly set up as a like a main campaign. But why we prefer variations is because of the effort. So if we do a dedicated campaign and the base is very low, then it does not make sense to do a dedicated campaign for that audience. So then in that case we go for the variation based audiences, and we try to target them on the based on the variations. Then there is a on-site. On-site is always you can target them these segment on the site also with the like a welcome or with the free shipping. So these kind of messaging can be put up on the on-site for these kind of audiences. So on-site is basically there can be a pop-up, there can be slider, there can be embedded strip, those kind of things on the on-site. And basically you can target them on SMS as well, but SMS is not recommended for these kind of customers, and the frequency needs to be very high. So frequency is typically tend to be very high for these kind of non-buyers, because what we want is that we should target them regularly. We should send them like maximum count of campaigns, and if they are like converting, so the two options will be there, like either they convert or they will sign unsubscribe. But in both cases, either we will save on the subscription cost, like we will clean the list and we will like improve the deliverability, or we will be able to get the conversion out of them. Or high doesn't mean to spam them, but high means that you don't hold your guns, or you don't send like exclude them from a campaign. So the idea is that non-buyers should get the most count of campaigns you are doing. So at least they should get most of the offers or most of the campaigns, either new arrival, either best, because they have not engaged. So the its idea is to communicate more with them. Next is on the line is the one-time buyer. So one-time buyer tend to be if someone has placed one order. So in this also we will exclude the unengaged, we will remove the missing audiences. So it will be like it will be inclusive of all the recently one time buyers, and there might be like someone who placed an order one time like 30 day or 90 days ago. You can put a time limit, but typically because of the sake of simplicity, and we have limited resources to target like 4 segments. So what we are doing going is for the lifetime, and we try to limit them using the removing the unengaged and the missing. So these are like lifetime, and success metric will be like count of 2+ buyers. So if someone has bought like more than two twice, so they will be counted as a success for this. In the automations, mostly we recommend like two automations over here. One is like post purchase, and second is post purchase cross sell upsell kind of automation. Second is replenishment if it's applicable. So it's applicable in cosmetics, in pharmacy, and those groceries kind of products, but it's not applicable in like a regular your one time purchase or electronics products. So that's for the automation. But interestingly over here the effort goes into the dedicated. So because this is the most like the second most volume. If in any database, after the non-buyers, the maximum number of users typically tend to be one-time buyers. If it's not a very like a very subscription-based store which have like a 80% kind of a repeat rate, typically one-time buyer tend to have like 70% of the base of the customer base. So supposedly 100K subscribers are there, so 50K would be like non-buyers. Out of rest of 50K, around 30 to 35K will be one time buyers for most of the stores. Like this is a general trend, but what I'm saying is 30-35% of the audience will be there in an overall picture, and from the buyer perspective it will be more like a 70% kind of audience, which is will be your one time buyers. And to target them, we either push like new arrivals or we push bundles. We can push like for one time buyers there can be a deal on the bestseller, there can be like on the you can start pushing loyalty, but we don't try to push loyalty. The idea is to get them to the next purchase. So the special coupon code can be there in the variations. In the variations, what we have seen also work really well is the dynamic recommendation. So dynamic recommendation tend to work really well for these kind of audiences, and then we can make changes on the body campaign email body as well. So these are the campaigns which typically work, or the variations which typically work on the one time buyers. For on-site, it's typically like new arrival or survey. But for them, the what we have seen really good success with special discounts. So special discounts tend to have high success with them. And if we have like a more approach on the SMS, so typically the conversions tends to bad. But if you have a repeat purchase discount, then we can include them as a variation. Also, we can include them as a dynamic recommendation. Like we can include them in the SMS also. So that's about the one-time buyers. Next is the repeat buyers. So repeat buyers, is also more about like if someone has placed twice and they have like so these are the creams. So idea is not to target them heavily. Idea is to don't send every campaign to them. You can reduce the frequency, but the idea is to send more relevant campaigns. And uh, in the variations, the idea is to push more loyalty points. So what you push is the loyalty points, subscription points. If they have any kind of a like incentive, you try to push that as a variation. Apart from that, in the dedicated, it's more or less the same as the regular repeat buyers, but it also includes like new arrival, early sale launch, and collection launch. Then on-site, for on-site, it typically lasts around the new arrivals and loyalty points. So the idea is that if someone is a repeat buyer, then we have always have referral points, we have loyalty points, or anything like that. But those kind of things tend to work well as a variation. So you have your regular campaigns, but instead of sending a regular campaign, what you include in your repeat campaigns or those will be your this thing like your loyalty points in the SMS or loyalty points in the variation. So those kind of things helps you with the conversions, and you are able to personalize the email also, and you are able to segment the audience. And also these customers might not, you don't need to send sale based campaigns or those kind of campaigns. Like there can be early sale launch, but you don't need to send them like a very high discount kind of a offers. It can include be more like a minimum purchase kind of offers, but mostly the idea is to play them on the loyalty points and the subscription points. So that's, and the frequency is medium. I skipped the automation side, but we can include the VIP automations or like a loyalty program automations or subscription related automations for these customers. They will be always be part of our like post purchase, and they have already came through that journey from our one-time non-buyer to one-time buyer to repeat buyers. So they have already seen multiple automations. So idea is if you have something special for them, then you target them through automations. Otherwise, you let them be, and target them with more relevant campaigns or more relevant variations. So that's the idea for repeat. For labs, so typically once the customer start buying, or like if they, even if they are might be one-time buyers, and they move into like a lapsed audiences. So lapsed audiences typically user who have placed an order but they have not came back again in last 90 days. So typically 90 days we try to keep it early, because for 180 days we have not seen much success. So idea is to target them early. And then the idea is like one is the win back related and the loyalty program related automations. But typically for the segmented campaigns, you can have new arrival deals and giveaway, but variation will always be exclusive discounts, either for winback or this thing, where we can include a strip or we can have a special offer in the subject line. Supposedly there is a new arrival campaign and we have a winback offer, so what we can include is a like a winback offer in your new arrival campaign and send that campaign specifically to this page. So that's how we create a variation for this kind of audiences. And either you can include the loyalty points, because they have already purchased, so they might be having their loyalty points, so that can also be included. Then there can be always like on-site loyalty points giveaway, and like loyalty points or giveaway, and SMS. So SMS is typically works really best for the winback audiences, because they are not engaging with the email, and because they have came through the journey, so they might have received multiple emails or other automations also, other emails also. So the idea is to target them with new arrival deals. So that's the like the direction. And the frequency tend to be medium, because we don't want to target them aggressively. What we want is to target them sporadically, or we want to like lower the frequency, because eventually after a certain time the deliverability might start getting hampered because of win back audiences. So the idea is if they are engaging, you try to bring them back. Otherwise you target more focus on the non buyers and the one time buyers. So those are the like two like the most profitable segments. Win back or repeat depends from brand to brand. So repeat tend to have that, but like labs tend to have a low success rate. But idea is that you can't leave your labs like you can't leave your buyers. So the idea is to keep on targeting them, but not aggressively. The idea is to keep them like a once a week or like a twice a month kind of a campaigns, but don't send them aggressively. And next is non-openers. So non-openers is also a separate or segment. So where the idea is that if they are not engaging on the email, and if they have not opened any email in last 90 days, then typically we don't want to suppress them because they haven't gone that far. It's just that they haven't opened like any email in last 90 days. But what we can do is like set up a automation, or we can like target them separately. So the frequency tend to be low, but we can target them with the flash sale or those kind of campaigns like a bestseller or a giveaway campaign, and try them with paid advertising. So that's like if the non-openers are there, so then you try to migrate them to a different segment, then other like a different channel. And then there is always like on-site is also like a different channel compared to email. So this is the only engagement based, because if you look at like all the four segments, they were like a non-buyer, buyer, repeat, and lapsed. So they were like a behavioral pattern. And for a engagement pattern, we only take 90 days. Some agencies do like 30-day non-openers, 180, then 90, and then. But the idea is that the question is the channel working or not working? If you feel that the channel is not working, then 90 or 180 does not make any difference. So the idea is that if you can get them open the email, then you can target them based on their buying behavior. If they are not opening an email, you need a separate strategy for them. So then it's not the challenge of their behavior, it's the more of the channel itself, that the channel is not working. Maybe the email is not landing in inbox, or maybe they are not that much active on the email, or there might be like 100 reasons for that. So the idea is to target them on separate channel, and we can again bifurcate them based on behavioral. But that's the only engagement we use. We don't use clickers separately, we don't use any other any other viewed or like any other behavior or engagement related metric. We just use like 4 purchase and 1 engagement related. So that's the most max confusion in the this, that do you should go from engagement perspective or behavior perspective. So our approach is that there is a filter of engagement, and based on that filter you try to target them on the behavior. So that's the core crux of the strategy. And then there is always like list cleaning at the last. So last it's typically the start of the once we start on the account, but it's basically you remove the bounce, you remove the non-openers. But non-openers not 90 days. It's typically like if someone has not opened in last 365 days, then they qualify for like being suppressed. Or last head one we used is like non-buyer registered 2 years ago. So if someone has been on the list but they haven't bought in last 2 years, and you have gone through like each and every kind of campaign like Black Friday to your all the sale, new arrival, and this, so typically we try to remove them from the list. So these are the three we recommend removing from the list. And but yeah, so the list cleaning needs to be very rigid. And typically most of the brands tend to have a they don't like to clean the list. But typically list cleaning helps with the cost also, it helps with the deliverability also. So if you clean the list, it will help both ways. And these are lost audience, like these are missing audience. What we call is that they are not they will it's very highly unlikely they will come back. So that's the R framework. So to summarize, let me just go to this. So yeah, so instead of like creating 100 segments, try focus your focus on 4 core segments, which are behavior segments. And behavior is the purchase, because what we want is conversion. So the target is always around the conversion. So buyer, non-buyers, so then one time, repeat, and your labs. So these are the 4 segments. And after that, behavior segments, we keep a layer of unengaged. So we try to remove unengaged. So we don't like accidentally, we don't like to send to non-openers. It's most openers. We try to remove non-openers. So there is a difference that openers is not targeted. It's like non-openers are excluded. So that's the part, and you remove missing. So these are the 2 which is like on the engagement side, and these are the 4 on the this side. So yeah, so let us know if you have any questions in the comments, and we will definitely reach out to you. And if you need any help with the email marketing and this, you can always visit RetainUp and drop us an email. So thank you for your time.